Hi, welcome to the week 3 of the Teach for India Halla Bol debate, right? So we've discussed a lot about the criminal justice system, its working. We've also discussed about the role of the prisons, right? Let's talk about the rights of the prisoners now. So where I left you off was the four roles that a prison, caters to, right? And two of them were punishment of the criminal and rehabilitation. Now, there's a contradiction between these two, right? Because the harsher the punishment becomes, the more difficult the rehabilitation becomes. And the bridge between these two is the rights of a prisoner. So they are the ones that protect him from the punishment and lead him or her, for that matter, to rehabilitation. Right. So here's the question really to ask is that who awards or who gives these rights, right? Which is where this idea comes in of a social contract. Now this is a whole new section into philosophy where this French philosopher called Jean-Jacques Rousseau came up with the whole social contract theory, which basically tells you, like I'll just crisp it out in two lines, right? It tells you that when you were born into a certain society or under the aegis of a certain government, you agree to the government taking away your rights in return for them giving you some rights, right? So they take away some of your freedoms in the interest of a greater good, and like give you some of them so that you can also live by, right? And that's the contract that you sign. Now the contract is not really a contract, like it's like a tacit contract, like an unsaid contract that you've already agreed upon, right? Now as a prisoner also, some rights are taken away by the prisoner, and some rights are taken away by the government, and some rights are given to the prisoner, right? The rights that are taken away would be, like right to free speech, or like right to speak to someone, for example, or right of movement or forming groups, like things like that. And the rights that are given to him is maybe right to a fair trial, right to legal representation, right to an appeal, right to being free from torture, things like that, right? So these rights are given to a prisoner and these rights are taken away from them. Now, who really consents to this giving and taking away? It is the prisoner, right? So we don't want debates to go around saying that, but the government can't just take away my right, it's wrong. No, that's not true, right? Like the prisoner has already agreed with the government that, well, if I do this act, then I will be put in jail, and this will be taken away, and this will be awarded to me. So that is already set. The question that we really need to ask is that if a prisoner has done something wrong, is that really a means, or rather when is that a means to not award him any dignified treatment? So some people will go ahead and say, you know what, you've done something wrong, so now you're an outcast, you're ostracized, and therefore the people who run the prison are not obliged to treat you well, and all your rights are taken away. While others will say, a prisoner is also a human being, everybody makes mistakes, he needs a second chance, and therefore needs to have a dignified treatment, right? So these are the kind of rights-based bridges that connect punishment to rehabilitation, right? And get your kids to understand that a prisoner has already consented to this, like he or she already knows before they commit that crime that something like this will happen or will take place, right? The other thing is about the kind of crime. So it's easier to argue these when we're talking about crimes that are harming us directly, right? Like crimes that involve killing or knifing someone or beating or raping or things like that. But what about crimes that deal with, let's say, property, or crimes that deal with finance, where somebody's house is taken away or somebody's bank accounts suddenly go empty, or the stock market, right? Like there are too many examples when those crashes happen, and things like that. So what happens during those crimes? In a debate, it's much more harder to argue those. And I'll urge you to get your kids to start thinking about those crimes as well, right? Like, what do you do when somebody takes away your house? Is it okay to like give them a death penalty, right? If not, why not? If yes, why? Things like that, right? So basically by the end of this week, just get your kids to understand that prisoners having rights or not having rights is something that, of course, is a matter of debate and something that we're gonna keep debating. But like they need to have a stance on when is it okay for certain rights to be taken away and when is it okay for them to be not be taken away. That is also the social contract aspect of it, where a prisoner has already consented to this idea of taking away of rights, and therefore that's not an argument that like nobody can take away rights from me or something of that sort. Lastly, just get your kids to start applying everything that they've learned, specifically this, to other types of crimes as well, so that the debates could evolve better. All the best. Enjoy.